talking about straining for that logo on the side of your helmet and not the name on your back.
Yes, sir.
Because we know what it represents. It represents everybody here you see and everybody you can't that we've talked about. I'm here to strain with you, man. I swear to God, I'm here to strain with you. Let's go. Everything you got, strain with everything you got. Let's go. Bills on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bills.
You're listening to the Off Tackle with John Fina show with your host, Joe Miller. Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Off Tackle with John Fina show, brought to you by the Market Dominator team on the Buffalo Rumblings vidcast network, presented by Picasso's Pizza. Treat yourself to the most flavorful pizza on game day. Picasso's Pizza. We are Buffalo Pizza, shipping local and nationwide. Order online at picassospizza.net. I'm the host of this here show. My name is Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. And sitting right there next to me is the star of this wonderful show, the Off Tackle with that guy's name. Former Buffalo Bill, played for 10 years at left tackle for the Buffalo Bills, Mr. John Fina himself. John, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Joe. Rough week.
Yeah.
But the end of it was better than the beginning last week.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks to Jerry O for sitting in for me. We had a incredibly wonderful remembrance of my dear mother. And I'm a lucky guy, man. Great mom. And I got to tell you, just the outpouring of love and affection, not just from you and the people from the vodcast world, but my wonderful Bills Mafia family, including the Bills Mafia babes, was touching. And it really, really meant a lot. So, and, you know, the downside of a funeral, unlike a wedding, is, you know, you see a ton of family. So we caught up and celebrated her life, which was a good sort of finish to that.
Yeah, awesome. It was Jerry did, as you said, filled in admirably for you last week. We had a lot of fun, and we mentioned you and thought about you and talked about you offline a little bit.
Can I ask you a question though, Joe?
You may.
As I crack my celebratory IPA. So the fact that you sent me the link with 30 seconds to the show, does that mean that Jerry got the link an hour ago? I normally would, and I'm on my way out?
Jerry got the link around 2:00.
I'm just saying.
He was actually in the show, and
am I Wally Pipp in this scenario?
I had to kick him out, and so that I could bring you on is basically what happened in this situation.
Man. Well, here's to you, Jerry O, for stepping in. I'm going to have to beat you up when we're in Kansas City.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned in to the Off Tackle with John Fina show, and John is in, I would say rare, but this is pretty typical form for John as far as just the jest and the quippiness. That's why we love you so much. This show is brought to you by the Market Dominator. We are Super Chat Live, which means that if you want to ask John a question or if you've got a comment for John, please feel free to Super Chat us. It shows up in glowing fashion. I'll do my best to comb through the comment section, and if I see something there that's interesting, I'll throw it up. Other than that, what we need to do is we need to go to our title sponsor, and I am completely 1000% unprepared to show a video of John. So we're just going to show this one.
Strategy, block, vision, get your vision up, balance, foot back, head up. Yeah, these are some of the strategies my good friend John Fina used to dominate on the field when he was playing for our great Buffalo football team. And these are some of the things that I use in real estate to dominate as the Market Dominator, and also the proud sponsor of the John Fina Show, hosted by Joe Miller. So if you want to win in the real estate market, it's going to be important to bring good vision so you can see what's out there, good balance of the market. Folks, strategy is critical, and this is what we do. We educate, we advocate, we negotiate, and we dominate. So if you want to win the way our football team is, you call me directly, 716-570-3298. Let's go, Buffalo!
Let's go, Buffalo. If you are in the market to buy or sell a home, please give John and his team a call, 716-570-3298. So last week, Jerry Ostrowski was paying attention because I played the same video, and he was saying, man, that offensive line, like, they've got a great coach. Their form is awesome. And so this time I paid attention to it because I've never paid attention to it before. And they run up, and they come up from underneath, and then you see their feet tap. I've never seen an offensive lineman do that in a game ever. Ever. I've never seen an offensive lineman do that ever.
Well, to Jerry's defense, when you're coaching youth football, I teach a lot of techniques that, you would never see anybody in college or pro do. But it's all about what John was saying, John Spazchek, of course, the market dominator.
Yes.
Balance. When he talks about balance, I talk all the time to the kids about balance, understanding weight distribution. You don't want to be ass over tea kettle and, where your weight is. I teach kids how to get into a stance, and it's actually a balancing trick. I tell them, you get your feet in the proper position and then pretend you are bringing a tray of glasses out to a bunch of people at a table. They're all filled with water. How do you get them there without dropping them? You squat down while you're balancing this tray, and that's how you get in your stance. So John Spazchek, Jerry Ostrowski, spot on.
Smart gentlemen, those two, they are. So this was quite the football game, as we are just going to jump right into this thing and have a conversation. So I'm going to let you go first on just your high-level thoughts of this game, not the good, not the bad, not what we need to work on, just high-level thoughts, maybe how you felt going into this game, how you felt during the game.
This is our expectations segment, right, where we talk about what were your expectations going in.
Yeah.
Well, so normally when you come off of a loss with some disappointing or vexing plays that prevented you from leaving with a victory, a team comes roaring back, right? You see their best.
Right.
And, I had that feeling like, here comes the vengeance, right? The Bills are out for blood. But then in the back of your mind, you're thinking of the injuries, right? The injury bug. We're getting bit hard by the injury bug. The war of attrition is upon us. So, as it would take, the field would be out for blood, but how many of those guys were on the field from the last week, right? So I was cautiously optimistic. I don't know. I have my sheet here. You threw yours away because in the end, you didn't want to own it, but
no, they lost the game I said they'd lose, which was the Dolphins game.
Right, and I own it, and I predicted a loss by our beloved Buffalo Bills. So happy to be wrong. And on the season now, I'm 2-2.
Yeah. And we are officially one quarter of the way, kind of. Once we get through one quarter of this week's game will be one quarter of the way through the season. Mm-hmm. But for all intents and purposes, we are one quarter of the way through the season. And I think I share similar thoughts as you do going into this game. There's a measure of what I expect and then not sure what to expect, right? You think the Bills are going to, they had that offensive explosion last week, but the points weren't there. So you think that this week they're going to do everything they can to execute and score touchdowns and show the world. Cause that's as much as they say they're not that team. They kind of are that team. They kind of are we've heard from this coaching staff when Dable was here specifically a lot. Yeah, we knew that was out there. We wanted him to get it, whatever it was, a record, a moniker, 2020 with the 13 different touchdown receivers and stuff. We knew that was out there. We wanted to get it. It just didn't happen, type stuff like that. But I was flabbergasted. I was wildly, and you were texting me, which was funny.
Sorry.
Normally I'm texting you.
You don't respond, so I guess I'm bothering you. I don't know.
I responded.
I'm afraid to text anybody else because then they're going to be like, dear God, this guy's got a problem.
I responded, ladies and gentlemen, but normally it's me texting you going WTF question mark, and you're the guy responding to me everything's fine. I'm not nervous at all. And you're texting me yesterday. And the funny part is somebody DM'd me today and was like, I don't know what's going on with all the Bills content creators blaming Josh Allen for that first half of the game. And I was like, you didn't listen to my show because Josh Allen was barely on the field. And everybody he threw the ball to dropped the football.
I think I counted 4 drops in the first half. I have my little note sheet. I rewatched the game.
Yep.
And so your expectations were we were going to win because you called it as a W, right, when we did the prediction show. So, I mean, good on you. And you felt like they were going to be out for blood just as I did.
Mm-hmm.
But did you have that little tightening thinking, oh boy?
I said this yesterday on the show, on the Overreaction post-game show, and I'm not ashamed. So you like to show your notes. So let me see if I can find my note. The point where Lamar Jackson drops back to pass and Von Miller is all over his backside, and basically somehow he squirms out of it. God only knows how he did it. Literally, if I can find it in my notes. Oh, and then he rolls out and he throws that ball that's then tipped. It's like, how is this ball tipped? What is going on? And then it's caught by Duvernay. And at that moment, I wrote, you might not be able to see it.
I can't.
Game over.
Oh. To yourself?
No, as I chart my plays. So for my show, I chart plays.
Oh, and I know. God, can you imagine Milano was up there, he elevates, it gets tippity tipped, and my heart went, whoa. Okay, yeah. But then what was the play of the game after that? Was it them going for it at 4th and goal, which I was like, kick the field goal? Oh,
you're talking about the Ravens? There was no way they could kick the field goal. They were thinking absolutely correct. Josh Allen's going to run right down the field and score a touchdown. And the only reason the Bills didn't score a touchdown is because they were trying to drain the clock.
Because they didn't want to. I don't know. I still think the odds are you take the lead.
That's what they say. But the play of the game is there's actually 3 of them. Outside of what Jordan Poyer did, obviously intercepting that football in the end zone, which should have been a holding penalty, right? So
2 holding penalties pick.
Yeah, Shaq Lawson was getting molested, for lack of a better term.
We like to say undressed.
He was. I think that's the same thing, contextually speaking. Anyways, Shaq Lawson was getting handled as far as that goes. So outside of Jordan Poyer's, obviously, that's probably the play of the game. Him picking up, because that changes it from having the ball at the 1 to having the ball at the 20. That's a big, as you know, a huge difference, especially when you're trying to come back and win the football game. It was tied at that point, but regardless, to me, there was 3 plays that were the plays of the game. The catch by Stephon Diggs, I think it was a 26-yard catch down the field to Stephon Diggs that he kind of pirouetted and caught. The Dawson Knox catch. And then,
wow.
Yeah, and then who was the other? There was it was Khalil Shakir, and Khalil Shakir's little 16-yard bubble screen that he ran. So
I'm sorry, I'm thinking out of context. The play that I love that really turned the tide was the goal line stand.
Oh yeah,
when I think it was Bryant literally just tackled Ricard.
Yeah,
because I watched that play a few times. And I thought, you know what? Without that's a touchdown. I mean, he basically set the edge, as they say, and ate up 2.5 to 3 blockers.
Right.
It was That was incredible.
There was also the one that Jeff Schwartz that you got tagged on. That Jeff Schwartz talked about, or maybe you were just talking about it as well. I don't know if you got tagged on it or not, but you were responding to it, where Prince basically somehow, is that just a guess? Does he know that they're all going to dive down at him? So then he steps out to his left and swims the guy. Is that just a lucky guess? Could they have very easily gone to their rights and met him?
I mean, what we offensive linemen think about most defensive linemen. I mean,
no, you've never told them.
Well, if they were any smarter, they'd be offensive linemen.
Oh, no.
There's a certain amount of luck. I mean, obviously, I'm not in the room with Leslie Frazier when he's constructing the defensive strategy and philosophy and implementation. But, you look at tendencies from formations, and they certainly did things in that game when both Milano and Edmonds made that tackle in the backfield in the middle of the field. They were coming downhill, and that was a play call.
Yeah. The question I have right now is, that's my wife. Is she talking to you or is she talking to me?
Very clearly talking to you.
I hope so.
Welcome to the show, Beth. It's good to see you. Miss you. Look forward to seeing you when I'm in town for the Packers game.
That is Mrs. Joseph Miller.
Yes, it is.
For 21 years. So we've been married for 21 years. So that's my wife, my beautiful wife, Beth. But, sorry, didn't mean to tell John I said hi. Well, he just said hi back. So there you go. Anyways, sorry. Wife moment.
Yeah, so I mean they're very I mean that's what a blitz is, right? You're constructing a defensive play, if you will, based on down and distance, where you are on the field, and if they line up like this, these guys go, those guys don't go. I mean, you can have a defensive play called, and if they come out and they motion out, or they're in, they have no tights, empty backfield, you're not going to run a run blitz against that type of offensive set.
Right.
So was it luck? Yeah, man, luck counts, man. When it goes in your favor, it counts good, and when it don't count so good.
You got to wonder, are there tells, right? So was there possibly a tell? Because I'm reminded of, and it's movies, right? So it's screenplays, but I'm reminded of the Vince Papale story. Why can't I think of the name of the movie with Mark Wahlberg? Invincible, right? Invincible, and like he's in the blocking thing when they're down in the trenches at training camp. And like the dude that he's rooming with that hates his guts because he's a walk-on player from the street that's like 30 years old gives away the tell of the knuckles. Like if his knuckles are this way, he's coming. If his knuckles there's blood in his knuckles, he's not. Blah, blah, blah. And like he takes it and uses it the next day. He looks at his knuckles and sure enough, he knows exactly what's about to happen. And then he uses it at his advantage. I wonder if there's a way to dissect, were they turned a little bit? Was an elbow cocked? Was there... I don't know. You just wonder how much film study is done and how many tells some of these guys might possibly have.
You want the short answer or the long answer?
Both.
The short answer is yes, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm teaching Bruno this and Roman this all the time. Look at when you watch film and you're going against a great defensive end, and you can sometimes they switch feet hand down when they're coming inside as to when they are taking outside contain. So, I mean, those are the details. You're not just watching film because that's the best time to drink Gatorade and eat pizza and wings. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you're looking for,
Right.
And the thing that I really worked on was how can I run block out of a stance that I could equally pass protect from, right? So as not to give it away. And that takes a lot of work, and that's a lot of practice, gaining balance, right? We'll call that the spaz check balance in your stance. So very clearly, if you study film hard and long enough, you're looking for tells. I know they say it's like chess. Sometimes it's like poker because you're gambling, a little bit more on your moves. So yeah, it's all there. It's how much time are you going to spend watching film, and how good is your defensive staff or offensive staff preparing for that kind of thing? And
right.
I mean, so many things come into it, right? What personnel is going in and out? Where are they on the field? What's the down and distance? And there's just reams and reams of information on their tendencies on 3rd and 8 from the 45 going in. And it's crazy. Thank God, they have these things that I invented called computers, because now you can, so much of that is digitized, and you create these huge, film study libraries. Like you can pull up, if you're watching film, I want to watch every 1st and 10 between, the 20 and the 40 going out.
Right.
Every third and 8, boom. And you just one after another. It's crazy cool.
So Mr. Diggs asks the question, are offensive linemen looking at center mass, hips, or arms and hands, or both?
No, I think it's more on, like, are they more forward? Are they more back? You're talking about I'm sorry. If I were a defensive lineman looking at me, or the offensive line, how would I see it? I think it's a lot of it has to do with hand down, foot back, which one's which. And then I'll tell you, it'll be a secret because it's just you and me talking here.
I'll mute your microphone.
Guys give up a lot of stuff if you just look into their eyes, right? They'll tell you where they're going.
Well, it's the old visor conversation, right? So running backs that wear visors have an advantage in the NFL because running backs know where the play's supposed to go, the hole that it's supposed to go to. So their eyes are looking a lot of times where the play's about to go if it's a run play. Whereas if they have a visor on, you can no longer see where they're looking, right?
Yeah, but even better than that, I wish I could remember which games and had the clips of it. But if you go back and look long and hard enough at about 140 games when I was there, Thurman Thomas is in the backfield standing next to Jim Kelly, and he's literally like doing this. He's pointing. can't see my finger, but he's like pointing and counting, and we're in the middle of the snap count, and you think that he's going to block somebody or go over here, the ball snapped, boom, he takes the ball and runs. I mean, he did a couple of those things. We're watching it on film going, oh my God, that was awesome.
Totally just messing with people, right?
It's funny. I coach offensive line, and if Sal Carpaccio's listening, because I know he listens to everything I say. I'm coaching these young kids, and we're doing one-on-one pass rush, which is the hardest drill for an offensive lineman. It's just you and the guy across from you and Jesus, and he ain't helping, right? On that particular instance. And these guys get into their stances, and they're focused straight ahead. And the defensive lineman's over here, and I'm like, what are you doing? Look at him. He is not going to be shocked when you block him. It's hard enough. This drill is so freaking hard as it is. Why don't you look at the guy that you were going to block? Give yourself this much help.
That's funny. We have our first super chat from John DeFazio. John, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Appreciate you. Is it me, or did the start of this game seem eerily, I'm guessing is what he's trying to say there, similar to the Indy game last year, which to me is evidence as to why we are a different team? What I'm gonna let you go first on that one. The Colts game was when Jonathan Taylor ran all over us for like 260 yards, and we never came out of the nickel 4-2.
Yeah, I mean, look, I never try to equate games to games because personnel changes. The team you're playing is different. I just looked at it as like, we were sloppy with the ball. We dropped passes. We looked. I don't know. I don't want to say we looked a little hungover, but I mean that game, 80 plays in Miami wore our guys out, and recovering from that is no small task. They looked flat, and then you get a few drops, and then you start second guessing yourself. You kind of like, get these pie eyes, like, oh my God, what's happening? We're kind of unraveling. But by the end of the second quarter, they turned it around. So, I don't think about it that way. I appreciate the question, but I just say sometimes you come out flat and bad things happen. And if you can't stop the landslide, right? What is it when the snow comes down off the mountain?
Avalanche.
If you're like holding back an avalanche, because sometimes bad luck is like that.
I don't know that it was eerily similar to the Colts game. I don't remember off the top of my head how our offense started. Clearly, maybe we started with a pick, but that might be what he's talking about. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly how that game started. I remember the frustrations for me about that Colts game was just never coming out of the nickel 4-2. And then hearing Leslie Frazier just back it up with, we never even considered leaving our base formation. And it's like, the guy is killing you. Absolutely murdering you. Why would you not throw an extra linebacker in there? And that's something that actually happened a lot in this game yesterday. They were running a 4-3 at times because of Lamar, because of trying to stop the run and everything else. There was to me, it comes down to the weather flat. I like that term, but it wasn't Josh necessarily.
No. I don't think Josh was flat.
Yeah, blocking issues, right? Dropping the ball, tipping the ball. I think it was more than 4. You charted 4, I believe you, but it felt like it was about 7. It felt like there were 6 or 7 drop passes.
Yeah, I mean, I quit after a few. I might have missed a couple because I was looking at the run game like we talked about, which I hope I did all that work. I hope we'll address it.
Well, we have quite a bit of time left, and this is your show, so we can talk about whatever we want to, or you want to. It's got your name all over it, right there.
Cool. I never noticed that. Yeah, man. Well, look, I just know that that's a good football team with a great quarterback that we beat. Yeah. And it took pulling everything out of our own guts and laying it out on the field to get it done. Yeah. And, I don't remember what our next segment is because I get so excited when we do our show. But, God, if you aren't a Matt Milano fan, like if you're not like fighting to be the Grand Marshal in the Matt Milano parade and carry that long stick and wear the funny hat. Holy cow. And then, what's cool about these games is, all of a sudden, bang, somebody shows up and has an unbelievable performance or a couple of plays. Shakir, right? I mean, we knew he was going to be good, but you just didn't know where, when, why he would insert himself and do something espectacular, which I would say that fell into the category. And I wrote names down on the defense. I mean,
We'll get to the good. Hang on. We'll get to the good.
Oh, sorry. I get so excited. I don't know what to do.
I want to address the Milano thing because the Milano play where he tackled Lamar in the open field was tremendous. And I liken it back to there was a play on the last Ravens drive where Lamar comes through the line. He's got a hole and Edmonds is standing there. And Edmonds has a very similar thing. And it's funny because I played baseball. You probably played baseball. I know your son plays baseball. But when you're in the outfield, first step is always back. First step is always back. You take that first step back. And if you watch the Milano play when he made the tackle on Lamar, his first step was forward. He had 2 steps forward and he waited. Edmonds, and he got him. Edmonds took 1 step back. And once he took 1 step back, Lamar was gone.
I think you're referring to the play that was in the middle of the field, and Lamar had come through the line and started going to his left. And at the very end, to get the first down, he did that slinky jump move to the inside.
That's the one.
And yes, I now own the expression slinky jump move.
Trademark, John Fina, 2022.
That'll get a lot of use.
But there's something about Milano's instinct.
The circumstances weren't the same, but I do agree in part that he should have. He needed to go flatter right from the beginning. There was so much more field that Edmonds had to contend with.
Yes.
My brother's calling. Should I answer it or no?
If you want to.
No, he should be listening.
You should text
Beth
him.
is on.
Tell him if he's got a question.
Bro, why aren't you listening to the podcast? I'm in the middle of the podcast.
Oh my gosh, he took a phone call.
Yeah, talk to you later. I'll call you back, man.
Anyways,
I know, like my own family doesn't know. These wonderful people in the comments section who know I have a podcast and my brother isn't on it.
That wasn't a diss to Tremaine Edmonds. It was more of just basically, talking about Milano and that instinct to go forward, because you would think that if Lamar's about to come down on you, you're going to step backwards. All right, what are you going to do? Right before I react. And as soon as you take that, what are you going to do? Move. He's gone. Milano's coming forward, cut him off. Whereas, I get why Tremaine did it, but it's just that tackle, that open field tackle that Milano had was ridiculous. It was just absolutely ridiculous.
And that's that moment when you're playing left tackle, they'll be like, what's it like playing left tackle? If you've ever watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, right? It's the gunfight when that you're alone, right? So Milano's out there in space, and you are never more alone than you're facing Lamar Jackson, right? Or Von Miller playing left tackle, and like everybody's looking. I mean, you can't even hide.
He had his legs broken or his ankles broken, I think, by Lamar a couple years ago. But we got another super chat, and then we got to get to the house read. So get ready.
Got it. Yes, I'm ready.
John with another super chat. Thank you so much, bro, for being a part of the show. Explain to me why on any 3-on-1 or 2-on-1 or even 4-on. Oh, is that third and 1, second and 1, and or even 4th and 1? We are not quarterback sneaking. Josh is like 12 for 13. Why let that go? I don't get it. So for me, I'll leave that up while you're kind of getting prepared there, and then you can answer. I don't think that they don't do it. I think it's situational, and it depends on how big the one is. And as much as Josh is 6'5", 6'6", and he can stretch, it seems like, and they were talking about this on the radio today, John, and I don't know if that's where you were kind of getting this from, but they were talking about the fact that since the Tennessee game last year where he failed, they didn't think, they couldn't recall him doing a QB sneak since then. I don't know if that's true or not. I'd have to go back and probably watch a whole bunch of football games. I don't feel like it hasn't happened since that Titans game last year. I think there's just a measure at some point of you're expecting it, and you want to save it for when somebody's not expecting it. I don't think there's necessarily a reason. Do you have a thought?
Well, I mean, we all talk about wanting to see Josh carry the ball less in like a true running situation. And I think after last week when he got his, proctological exam or whatever you want to call it. And I think I'm okay with it on 3rd and inches, 2nd and inches. Well, not 2nd down. You never can do that on 2nd down, I don't think. But 3rd and inches, maybe a foot, what have you. I'm probably okay with it. I do want to see him run less like everybody else until it's strategic, which I think they did in this game. And I think you also, when you start taking it away from the running back and the offensive line as you do in some way, that's a confidence problem. And, you got to be able to look at him and say, look, we're going to go back to you because this is how football teams get first downs.
Right.
So get your asses together and get a push, get your guy, create a seam, and let our running back make it through the damn line of scrimmage.
Yeah. One thing that did not come up a lot, and I don't know if anybody else noticed it but me, but there was a crap ton of quarterback rushing touchdowns yesterday. There was like seven or eight quarterbacks in the NFL yesterday ran for touchdowns. It was nuts. It was insane. So why don't we do the house read real quick, and then we'll move on finally to the good.
To be fair, I love the house read. It's my chance to mumble super fast at the end.
I tried to do my best Fina impression yesterday on the house read.
On the house read. When you're looking to buy a house, everybody's got a guy. Might need work done on your roof. Your buddies, he's certainly got a guy. If you need an inspection, I know someone. And when you're looking to get your financing together, Brian Belser from House Capital Corporation can be your guy. They help make the mortgage process simple, hassle-free, and understandable. At House Capital, their preferred relationships with some of the top lenders give you the edge up in getting the financing you need. Take it to the house with House Capital. House, a registered mortgage broker, NYS Department of Financial Services. All loans arranged through third-party providers, equal housing opportunity. House Capital, 500 Pearl Street, NMLS 154946444.
Yeah, what he said.
The
good for me, and this is going to be a short segment, and we do have some film, so we're gonna break a couple plays.
Yeah.
The good for me is the gut level of this football team. We have heard a couple weeks now the Rams game. We heard it. I think we heard it in Tennessee. There may have been a mention of it last week against the Dolphins about at halftime being as close as they were and not being worried. So there was this inner confidence, against the Rams, the Super Bowl champions, that, we're not playing our best football right now. However, we're not down by 21 points. I think we're good. And now they enter a football game where they were not playing good football at all. They were not playing championship football. Meanwhile, at halftime, they just come off the field with a 2-minute drive for a touchdown, or, a late half drive. They score. It's 20-10. So they're not close. It's a 2-possession game, but they're not buried either. And for them to gut out, they easily could have just packed it in. And I know you know what I'm talking about, where it's okay, nothing's working. We're just going to make this an elevated practice. We're going to start working on some stuff and see what does work today, because nothing seems to be working. They gutted it out. They reached deep. Josh Allen became Josh Allen and took that football game over. And just to see them overcome almost the impossible. I don't know if we've never talked about this idea of learning to win. Players talk about it. Coaches talk about it. National media people talk about it a lot. Well, the team has to learn how to win. I hope they learned a lesson yesterday that they're never too far out.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll try to unpack a little bit what you said and put it into my perspective, right?
Yeah.
So at halftime it was 20-10 and really, 13-10. You gave them the ball at the 20-yard line on interception, right? We gave them decent field position. I don't remember if any points.
Was it the 5? We gave them the ball in the 5?
You're right. Sorry, because he returned it to the 5 or the 10.
Right.
So I've been in those situations where you're going into the locker room and you don't even want to look at your defensive teammates in the face. I'm sorry. You guys are killing. You're taking, top 3-4 QB in the league and containing him to a reasonable extent. And we need to have your back, and we don't have it.
Right.
So as you're going in as an offensive team, I hope you want to kind of hide your face a little bit in front of your defensive partners, right?
Right.
So, and I could tell you between Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen and some of those offensive linemen, there was a real kind of come to Jesus moment between the offense, saying those guys over there are doing their job and you need to pick it up. Our game plan is good. We can make some modifications, but you need to catch the damn ball, right? Start by catching the damn ball.
Right.
And don't think you can miss a block or have a shitty block because somebody else did and it's your turn.
Right.
I talk about that in high school all the time. You don't get a turn. All 11 guys need to be perfect, and it's doable. You don't get to go, oh, well, he screwed up. I get to screw up now.
Right.
So I think that the defense, they were amazing throughout. You can't blame the defense anywhere because giving up 20 points to Baltimore and Lamar Jackson, you'd take that every day.
Yes.
There
isn't a quarterback. Pat Mahomes does not scare me as much as Lamar Jackson does.
Right. So, I just add a wrinkle to that and just say, I go into that locker room thinking I owe those guys on the other side of the locker room, who are exhausted from chasing a freaking deer around the field.
Yeah.
And to be fair, they got hammered a little bit with the run. I mean, Baltimore had a slick little running game going there for a while, but when we needed stops, we got stops. And we got some nice ones too. No gain, minus yardage.
Thank God that Hill guy got hurt because he was running all over him. Sidebar, and I love this comment, and this is not part of the conversation, not part of the topics, but I would love to know your feedback. So because I have an opinion. John DeFazio asked the question, do you think we should use more up-tempo, or should we use tempo more often and let Josh run the show? He gets praised for that now in the way that he analyzes defenses. I've been saying since 2020, every time the Bills try to slow the game down, play conventional football, run the clock down to 2 seconds, something like that, run, pass type stuff, they lose themselves like as an offense. And I think as much as you weren't there when the K-gun kind of was birthed and that whole conversation about Marv Levy and Bill Polian going and Ted Marchibroda saying, I think this can work, like this whole no huddle thing. There's something about being in a rhythm and being in a groove. And Josh Allen functions, in my opinion, and executes way better in tempo than when he's not in tempo. And I'll go to the grave having that until he shows us the Tom Brady, right? I've been at this for 12 years and I can take over a game.
I know where you're going with this, and I don't entirely disagree with you, right? But when I was doing this, when you were talking, it wasn't because I wanted you to stop talking. I was thinking to myself, this is how long practice is. You just made practice this longer. And in Leslie Frazier, we're in a 4-2 the whole game. Why don't we just throw another linebacker out there? I'm like, whoa, bro, everything we prepped was a 4-2. Now you're like, hey, do you remember that defense that we ran like 3 weeks ago against that other team? We're just going to throw that crap right back in there. Now do it. There's some versions of that you can get away with, but if they're not dedicated to this type of offense, you practice the 2-minute drill, right? But you've got your compendium of plays to call, and the 2-minute drill is very narrow. When you're in the middle of the third quarter or the second quarter or wherever you are, and you're trying to still diagnose what they're doing defensively, the play calling and the personnel changes are intricate to understanding what you think they're doing.
Right.
So unless you're fully committed to it, it can end up looking a lot worse than you want it to. So if they could say, all right, well, we're going to take 20 minutes out of, Wednesday, and we're going to dedicate to this, and we're going to add 20 minutes to Thursday. Then you just hope like no one's like texting the NFLPA, hey, we were on the field today for 121 minutes instead of 118 minutes, which is the collective bargaining agreement.
But they practice situational football. They're used to playing with 3 linebackers on the field. They're not yet. And the reality of that is the fact that it was 2 games later, or even the next game, the Bills started putting 3 linebackers on the field. Like there was time. It's like, oh, here we go. So. You didn't consider it in the Chiefs or the Colts game, but now you're considering it, and you're actually doing it. It's situational. Let's talk about a couple of plays. So I only have one video, and this video is literally because all 3 plays that you picked were right next. I love you today. You are my favorite human on the entire earth today because I didn't have to like cut up a bunch of film. I didn't have to pull it into not Premiere. I use I can't think of the program that I use, but anyways, I didn't have to cut anything up and like bounce a bunch of stuff. I have 1 clip, 1 bounce, good to go. So this is the very first one.
Oh, the very first one. I couldn't.
Yeah, this is the one to the outside to the left.
All right. I remember it already. So, you had asked me like, what's the problem with the running game? Well, first of all, other than Josh Allen running the ball, and I think there were only 2 designed Josh Allen runs, maybe 3. One of them was also kind of an RPO.
Yeah,
But
he said 4 he said I think 4 in the press conference,
yeah.
and then he said all the other ones were basically choices where I dropped back, it looked right, and I took off.
Yeah, so we only ran 6 runs in the first half, to my count.
Mm-hmm.
And then without dedicated Josh runs in the second half, we only ran 8. That's a total of 14, if math serves.
Right.
And my first comment is, I want to run the ball 25 times, and it's hard to get good at it if you don't. But so in the first half, we ran 1 power, and we ran 2 zones in the first quarter. And in the second quarter, we ran 3 zones, and none of the plays were really good. On 2 of those, we had box pressure.
What is box pressure?
Box pressure is you see the 2 linebackers at the 47-yard line.
Yes.
Queen and whomever else, by the way. God, Patrick Queen, I wanted him so bad. If they start stepping up to the defensive tackles, you're putting pressure in the box.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So box pressure, man, it's rough to run inside zone if they're coming from depth. So no question why those didn't work very well. And then you look at there were only really three good runs, designed runs in the second half. And this is one of them. And I think we get a little box pressure late before the snap here, but it's an outside play. It's a toss. So you got Deion Dawkins pulling and leading, and the tight end whose name I'm forgetting at the moment. Quentin Morris out in space, right? But look at the alignment of the defense. I mean, it's a mixture of a good play call with the wrong defense in place for them. Mm-hmm. But you're also getting a guy out in space. They were like, all right, our plan is we run around inside zone. We're not running inside zone. Second half, we're going to come out. You know what? Let's try the edge. And this is what you get. You get them outflanked. Deion does a nice job here, just kind of not blocking the guy, but just putting a little paw on him. Mm-hmm. But they're basically all inside the formation, which means if you get a decent stock block like we're getting out of is that Gabe
Morris?
Davis?
No,
Gabe Davis.
Where?
Gabe Davis makes this play right here.
Oh, on the inside, just right here.
Yeah. And then Quentin has a great play. But if Gabe doesn't make that, 21 makes the tackle, in the first quarter.
Hang on, we're going to look at this from the backside real quick.
Right, so stop before you even go.
Mm-hmm.
You got McKenzie, right?
How does the defense not recognize this right now, that they are out leveraged to the outside big time?
Well, again, so we don't run a lot of this. How much toss do we run?
It depends on the game. In the Rams game, they pitched the ball out about 17 times.
But have they seen it all in the first and second quarter? No.
Right.
Now, I didn't look closely and compare this offensive set, but I think it's also almost like the first time you've seen this set in the game. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get what amounts to like a crack block by the receivers, and you're pulling the left tackle, and I keep blanking on his name. Dawkins is pulling, and the tight end is looping around.
Right.
So you're trying to create an alley, and it was just good timing. Now the hardest block on the field is Saffold.
Roger at left guard.
Yeah, because if you go back to the snap, he's outflanked to begin with. Yeah, I'd have never blocked it like he does. It's kind of a skip hop thing.
Yeah, he walks him down the line. Yeah, he walks him down the line, right?
Yeah, and if the receivers get their blocks, it's nice because then you just pin them up to those guys. So McKenzie has a great block right there, and it doesn't seem like much because he's just walling them off a little bit. But that block helps.
McKenzie's given up a foot of height and about 120 pounds of girth.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, he doesn't even have to put his hands on him. He could get knocked on his hiney here, and he'd still have made the block. Right? Because once Motor gets to there, and he does. He gets drubbed. Look at that.
Yeah, he ends up in the dirt. Oh. He ends up taking a dirt nap.
That actually might be where the concussion happened. We don't even know.
It happens later, but yeah. He literally is like, okay, this guy just owned me. Like the dude just shoves him to the ground. 99.
Right, but look right there. I mean, he's got Singletary has 2 yards.
Yep.
And that's all he needed, right?
Yep, and then with Quentin Morris out front. That's right.
There was a little bit. It's a game of inches, and people always think like going forward an inch on the field, but the inches exist everywhere.
Little push in the back right here by Gabe Davis. Little push in the back, but he shoves him at Devin Singletary, so that's not a smart push. Anyway, but here we go. So this is the next play. So this is the one at the gut, inside zone.
Is this the one where I might have said that Saffold might have made an error?
I think that was in that was the third play. That's
Just,
the
oh yeah. So this is
inside zone.
Well, run the play.
Well, normally you set it up for us, so I was waiting.
No, so this is wide zone. So there's a
wide
difference here. So this is wide zone. So you just look at the front side. You know, it's more of a flat attack than a direct attack. So what we're trying to do is expand the defense, right, and create these seams. And again, we don't run a lot of wide zone. It sort of sets up like inside zone. Go ahead and run it real quick, because he drops it right there. So we're running an inside zone handoff, but we're using wide blocking. Now the key to this is the backside block, right? So where can we create the seam? So we're stretching, but okay,
21 totally loses his mind. 21 comes on a blitz, and he's like out in no man's land right there, whoop, all by himself out there in no man's land.
Yeah. So you get a great combination block here from Spencer Brown and Dawson.
Yeah, they're
Knox.
downfield. They are down. They're what, 4 yards off the line of scrimmage?
Right. And look at where Dawkins is as compared to where the ball is snapped. This is wide zone.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always tell this when we go to the next play. You compare Dawkins' tackles.
Right.
The problem, so on wide zone, you can plus block.
Right.
Which means you can kind of decide, we're not going to block these two linebackers. We're going to add more to that side.
Right.
And, just kind of hope these guys get caught up in the sweep of it, right? Because depending on what your formation is, sometimes you only have 6 to block 7 or 7 to block 8. And you have to decide, are we going to block this, the tightest guys inside the box and leave the strong side guy or leave the weak side guy?
Right, right.
So the play that you're not going to show, it looks like Saffold is blocking wide zone to the right, but I know it's inside zone because Spencer Brown is taking a step and he's kind of trying to throw the guy upfield.
Right.
Which says to me there's no way this can break outside of him, but he's also not getting in front of him and trying to string him out.
Right.
If it was like a true reach block, he wouldn't have stepped and leveraged him with the inside arm. He would have aimed more for the midline and had his inside hand on his inside armpit and trying to expand him.
Gotcha.
And in Saffold, the problem is Saffold. So the center.
Are you talking about on the bad? Are you talking about the next play?
The bad play.
Well, let's get there in a second. So
okay.
I haven't shown it yet.
I didn't think you were going to show it.
Yeah, I'm going to show it, but do the Q42 read real quick, and then we'll get over to that play.
I had some Facebook posts of my Q42 from like 2 weeks ago, and I realized I didn't post them. They were only visible to me, and I'm like, I already saw it when I cooked it. It was so delicious. I'm awesome at social media. Okay, from Q42, he keeps. You know what? He keeps the reads.
He's good.
Just short, right?
Iman is good.
But his sauces are long and delicious. It's
perfect.
So opposite. What's the best way to celebrate that gritty, gutsy, gravelly, plucky win over the Cleveland Bravens? And I didn't read this until just now. Now I'm like killing myself here. How do you celebrate over the Cleveland Bravens? Well, hell, go to Q42barbecue.com. That's QUE42barbecue, BBQ.com, and get yourself some handcrafted, 100% made in Buffalo barbecue sauces and rubs. Use the code, all caps, Fina Show, and save 15%. That is like only 9% short of New York State retail tax, right?
You're not too far off. And I apologize we had to squeak that in, but we're getting long in the tooth. So if we missed that, it's not your fault. We're having a good show. We're having a great conversation. So this is the last play that we're going to break down. And this is pretty much, there's no point in harping on the first half. We've harped on it enough. So let's just do this part of the bad or the work, and then we'll do our expectations for the next game.
And catch the damn ball. More good or
Right.
More so watch Spencer Brown. He tries to throw number 4, which is, I can't think of his name. Steps with his right foot, and it's almost like a boxer throwing a punch.
Yeah, he's got that one arm out there.
Yeah. Okay, but the problem is on the backside, you got Morse, who is basically man-to-man on the nose guard. Mm-hmm. And then there's a 3 technique on Saffold. Everybody know what a 3 technique is? Good. So Saffold's got a guy on his outside, but he's plus blocking to the far linebacker, and he doesn't give Dion any help at all. So Dion, I could tell he thinks he's getting help.
So this is one of those moments where you're like, Deion Dawkins sucks. Like this is all his fault.
Yes.
And it's
And
not.
and it took me a minute, right? But I'm like, whoa. Like if I did this to if Reuben Brown did this to me, we'd have a conversation. Pretty good at analyzing.
Right
so
there.
stop right there. So Morse has got a guy on him, right? They're going to the middle linebacker. You got to do the math. Spencer's got his guy. You start counting backwards. Even if Saffold is going to the middle linebacker, I'm not sure it is, with the sleeve on the elbow, he cannot leave the 3 technique without putting a paw on him for Deion Dawkins. So if I'm Deion and Reuben says to me, and all he's got to say is, dude, I'm gone, I know that I got a shit block ahead of me. And I'm literally going to make this block by pulling. I'm running a counter, and I'm going to get so flat, and I'm going to run my ass off to get to the far hip.
So
But Deion doesn't do that here because he thinks he's getting help from Saffold.
So it's almost so. Looking at this, so the guy that you're talking about is the guy that's one up on Morse. So the guy that's vertical to Morse in the picture. So Saffold's going to ignore him, and that's Deion's guy. And what you're talking about doing is, if you remember, it was probably 3 months ago where there was a replay of you. I think it was in the Super Bowl, and I called you a badass because you swung around super flat and like chucked the dude. Right, almost running away from the play, and that's kind of what you're talking about, right? Like you'd have to get on your high horse and almost like run straight parallel to the line, get hands on him, and shove him as hard as you could. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh yeah. Well, no, not even that. Like I'll be lucky if I could do that. But if I'm Deion Dawkins here, and I don't think I'm going to get any help from Saffold on that 3 technique, my hat. That's a perfect place to stop it. My hat, my face mask, is going to be right on Saffold's ass, and you're going to see my front numbers. And I'm going so hard for that far hip. And the far hip is, well, I mean, it's behind Morse. The defensive tackle's far hip.
And we're still seeing the 3 on the back of Deion Dawkins as opposed to.
Yeah, he thinks he's got help here because there's no way. And if he doesn't, I'll be like, if I'm Cromer and I'm in the meetings, I'm like, dude, you know you got him alone. It's the hardest block on the field. You got to get there. But I'm looking at where Morse is on his guy.
They double team
I'm thinking,
him.
Yeah, why? I mean, something's got to give here. I mean, even if they're double teaming him to get to the linebacker, you can't give up that block.
Yeah, and
you got to help him.
And Singletary's so far to the right, he can't cut it back to the left to get that hole.
Yeah. Look, they bring Knox in, right, and they got Diggs in for the guy at the E-mole. Okay, Diggs is on the E-mole.
What's the E-mole?
End man on the line.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Saffold does have to go to that linebacker, but he can't leave him. That's an impossible block. And if he was supposed to leave him and not touch him when a guy's on your shoulder,
right,
then Deion's to blame. But man, I mean, think of it this way: look at where Knox is. All right.
Downfield,
if Saffold and
Deion parallel with him.
If Saffold and Deion take the 3 technique up, you still have the same seam. Now Singletary's running up the hash mark.
Not great, Bob. So the answer to that is Saffold's got to help Deion in that moment. At least chip his guy slow as get a left arm out on him. Right.
So I could tell you this: if we were planning this play and I was in meetings and the coach draws it up with the left guard escaping the 3 technique, I'm standing up and I'm using profanity. I mean, I'm literally going to look at my coach and I'm like, you are outside your bleepity, bleepity, bleepity mind if you think that is a sound scheme.
So what is the call here then? That's what because they're making checks, right?
Well,
Mitch Morse is known to be one of the smartest centers in the league.
There's no call to be made.
Okay.
You don't even make a call here. They lined up where you want them. You got enough guys for everybody. You have to block the right combination. Now, either Deion's not flat enough or Saffold is avoiding him. But in my opinion, even so, this linebacker with the sleeve, whose name I don't remember, he could shoot the gap where Dawkins is right now, and then Saffold is double wrong because he can't come back on the 3 at that point for Deion to come off on the backer. So you're better off washing the whole thing down. It turns into like a quasi, This basically ends up looking like power with Dawkins coming through, just not from the other side. Think of him as Gilliam right there, just leading on the play side linebacker.
Gilliam, who didn't barely even play.
Which brings up another question, right? Like Gilliam played a lot previously. Are we overthinking it? Like, why aren't we sticking with our Reggie Gilliam package? I don't know. Is it something that we didn't think that they would be susceptible to?
I wish we could see.
Fit in?
Go ahead.
Yeah, did it not fit in with the philosophy of the passing game? Is it related to? There's just so much we don't know, man.
I'd like to see the ass end of this play, and it's in the all 22, which will be out, I think, tomorrow. I want to, because when you look at it, and it could be just the angle. We know the camera angles mess up just true viewpoints, but Dion looks like he's what, a foot farther away from Saffold than he even should be.
So do you know what a three? Do you know what a three technique is?
So it's 1, 2, and 3, right? So
right,
the
right.
3, yeah, right.
I mean, the 90 whatever looks like he's in a 3.
Because it's odds in one direction and evens in the other. Is that right?
No.
No?
So
Gotcha.
when you talk about the defensive technique, the technique of the player, it's the alignment, right? So
Right.
I can never get this right. Is this right to you or left?
That is that's my left, your right.
Okay, so if I'm the right guard and this is my outside shoulder, if the inside eye of the defender is somewhere on my shoulder pad, he's lined up a little bit outside of me, but he's still on me, that's a 3 technique.
Okay.
If he lines up on my nose, it's a big nose, he could probably stand there. That's a 2. If he lines up on my inside shoulder, he's in a 1.
1 and
right.
then nose tackle.
And then a nose is a 0, and
right.
then we call it a shade. The numbering system doesn't work because when you get out to tackle, it like changes. It's crazy. I don't know. It's not, you know what it was? They started in the middle, and then when the coaches who were writing all this stuff up, by the time they decided what it would be like between the tackle and the tight end, the bourbon bottle was empty.
They're out of numbers.
There was a 4-eye and a 4 and a 5 on the tackle, and then a 6, and then there's like a 9 and an 8. It's crazy. It don't make no sense.
Buffalo Freddy says, "Are you trying to tell me that these offensive linemen don't just push people? There's no way they need to think."
Smartest people on the field, buddy.
I was
going to make a comment about Freddie's comment earlier, but now I don't remember what it was, Joe, because you distracted me.
I don't know. Freddie's good. He's got a bunch of them, but anyways. So let's talk about. So the Pittsburgh Steelers are coming into Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills are 3-1. I think the Steelers are 1-3. They're facing potentially right now. It looks like the worst season in the Mike Tomlin era. Kenny Pickett is going to get the start. I don't know if you saw that, Kenny. So we are going to be facing the rookie who. I think he ran in 2 touchdowns. I think he played okay. They were looking, quote unquote, looking for a spark. Who knows if he gave it to him. What are you expecting to see against the Steelers in this football game? Clearly, I have concerns anytime a quarterback that there's no film on plays the defense, there's a measure of success. Anytime Mike White, go back to Mike White last year, like no film on him, he lit up a defense. Then the Bills played him with film. They crushed him. Running backs do the same thing. If a running back comes into a game or has to play a game and there's no film on him, it seems like he goes nuts. And then like the next week, not so much.
I don't know. I think you're attributing player to game planning, but that's okay.
Possible.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I mean, to me, the issue is still like every single guy on that team needs to be in a tub full of ice water right now for like the next 48 hours. By the way, it works, right? Or you wouldn't have like a cryo place down the street from you.
Right.
Charge you $100 to stand there and be cold. It's Buffalo. Just go outside naked tomorrow. You'll get your cryo treatment. So that's my only concern. I'm not concerned about Pittsburgh. I just don't think that they've got it together enough to really kind of do a bounce back like we did only in 1 half and 2 minutes of football in the last game. So can we get healthy? Can the defense just continue to ride high in their confidence and continue to deliver? Because I think, whereas, we were so worried about the secondary, they were good yesterday. I mean, Johnson and Jackson, and you didn't hear anything about the corners. I didn't think there was any concern. There was no real concern.
Agreed.
There was 1 big or 2 big pass plays, but nothing like, where you just wanted to cry in your beer again. But We're still pretty solid in the front four. I think Von Miller is starting to hit a stride. I think Rousseau is looking good. So defensively, if we can have the same performance as last week, I mean, come on. And it's just Wilson Pickett. Oh, I did it again. I do it in my mind all the time. It's not Wilson Pickett. It's Brady Pickett, right?
Kenny Pickens.
Oh, it's Kenny Pickens?
So close.
What's his name?
Kenny Pickens.
I thought it was Pickett.
Or Kenny Pickett. Sure. We're both wrong.
I'm the host of the John Fina show, Off Tackle.
I'm closer than you are, Wilson Phillips.
Okay, I wanna vote in the comments section about who's close when we're both so wrong. I'm going with Wilson Pickett. I'll tell you what needs work. They're not just in this game, and because I took last week off for good reason. There's something going on with some of our wide receiver spacing, and I want to say that I noticed it before they said it on the broadcast, just because I have to give myself some props every now and again since I'm just a dumb offensive lineman. There's issues with that, and they better hit the jugs machine. If we see 5, 6, 7 drop balls, actually 6, 7, 8 drop balls again, hell no. James Cook just needs to come out and deliver 4 solid plays in a row, and he'll see more playing time. Yeah, they love the kid. Sure. He needs to love us back and love himself a little bit more, right? We have to love ourselves, Joe, first.
A little bit.
Shakir, feed him. Get Diggs talking in his ear, get him all excited and goofy like Stephon Diggs, and we're going to see some great stuff. I'm concerned about that wide receiver position just as you are. And I think the pressure is getting there. It's so close, right? We had Lamar a couple times. He snuck free, which we want our quarterback to do, but somehow we expect, no other quarterback to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So I think I predicted a victory here. Yes. So I might go 3-2. It's a lock. If the Bills Mafia shows up and lights that stadium up and 57-degree weather, no rain, no reason to be quiet. Get after them when they're in the huddle, not just when they get to the line, because you need that one guy to misunderstand the route, and he runs a freaking 6 instead of a 7, and the ball goes here, and Jordan Poyer's running it back again, who I love, who's awesome. So that's where I'm going with that.
Gotcha. Well, I like that. So do you have a score prediction by chance?
I
know you love score predictions.
I do have a score prediction, okay? It's going to blow your mind. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
38-10.
I like it. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be at this game, so I like it.
Yep.
And I'd love to see
another thing I want to pull up, and then you can go, is I really loved the screen game. It was really well executed.
Yes. The problem is they haven't thrown the ball down the field in 2 games. So there's an aspect of,
our screen game.
I know that. Let's not be kept in check down. Let's press the defense, right?
Oh, right. I agree. Well, 57 and no rain. I mean, Josh Allen can throw it almost as far as me. Let's see it. Oh man, I'm gonna get a knock on the door. Josh Allen's coming over. You know that meme.
I'm sending that clip to Josh Allen.
You know that meme when the guys sleep in bed and the significant other, wife, girlfriend, whatever, is like, I wonder what he's thinking.
Yes.
Right. So that's me in bed, and my thought bubble is, oh my God, what am I gonna cook if Milano, Edmonds, Diggs and Josh show up at my door? Like, I gotta cook something. Q42, but I gotta have everything ready. That's my panic.
So
I'm the total moron, right?
Those guys all eat dinner cooked by Chef Darian, and I know Chef Darian, and he's really. I don't think you have to worry. I think they're probably headed to his house.
No. But if they end up in Tucson, unless Chef Darian's in tow, it's on me, because that's the meme. Like, what's he thinking about? I'm like, what if those guys show up and I have to feed them?
I got to close this show. We are off the rails at this point.
Hey, and in the comments section earlier, I really want to thank again everybody for their condolences on the passing of Anne Marie Palermo Fina, who was by any measure a wonderful mother and a wonderful grandmother, and probably fed over 300 people that were unrelated to her, from various pseudo adoptees to celebrations, families, Thanksgiving, Christmas, what have you, Easter. So thanks everyone for your kind words and your condolences.
Awesome. Love it. Very good. Appreciate you, John. Love you, dude. Everybody loves you. And we a lot of prayers going out to your family. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been tuned into the Off Tackle with John Fina show, brought to you by the Market Dominator team, House Capital, and Q42 on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network, presented by Picasso's Pizza. My name is Joe Miller. I'm the host of this here show. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. You can find that guy over there on Twitter at John Fina. And he will interact with you and have fun with you, and it'll be a blast. So if you're not following him, you should be. Before I end this here thing, John, any final thoughts?
Joe, go Bills.
Go Bills. That's all he's got to say. Well, tomorrow, Jay Spence the King and the Code of Conduct has Stevie Johnson on his show. Wednesday's the Hump Day Hotline. Thursday, the Buffalo Nerd. Friday, Food for Thought for me, Joe Miller, for John Fina, for all the Buffalo Rumblings crew. We love you guys. We'll talk to you next time. Go Bills. One more time, John Fina. Go Bills.
Go Bills, Joe Miller.
Go Bills. We'll talk to you soon.